She said it softly. You forgot your change. But the way she said it made it sound like something else entirely. Her voice had this quiet steadiness that didn't fit the noise of the cafe around us. I turned, half smiling, half not sure what to do with my hands. Coins clinked in the small paper cup between us. I should have taken them and left. But she was looking at me like she'd already seen the kind of person I was, or maybe the kind I wanted to be. She was older, mid-40s maybe, the kind of woman who made silence feel full, not empty. A loose strand of hair had fallen across her cheek, and she didn't fix it. She just waited, still holding the cup, fingers resting along the rim like she was testing how long I'd stay in the pause. I stayed. Her name tag said Clara, the letters half-smudged from a long shift. There was a faint trace of coffee grounds on her wrist, like she'd brushed against the counter. And when she moved, there was this faint scent of vanilla. Not perfume, but something that clung naturally, quietly. You're here a lot, she said finally. I laughed, too quick. Yeah, guess so. You work nearby? Not really. She tilted her head, amused, but didn't press. Her eyes were the kind that looked like they remembered things you hadn't even said yet. The next customer behind me coughed. A polite, impatient sound. I stepped aside, but not far. The counter light caught on the small line at the corner of her mouth, the kind that comes from half smiles you don't finish. When she passed the next drink, she brushed my hand. Not on purpose, maybe, but it happened slow enough to notice. My pulse reacted before I did. She didn't pull away. There was nothing dramatic about it. Just her fingers against mine for half a second too long. But it stayed like static under the skin. The cafe was nearly empty by the time I found a reason to still be there. I pretended to read something on my phone, but really, I was just watching the way she wiped the counter, folded napkins, tucked a loose curl behind her ear. Everything she did looked practiced, but not cold. When she finally came to clear my empty cup, she paused. You didn't even drink this. I was going to, I said. Her smile was brief, knowing. You like pretending you belong somewhere, don't you? I didn't know what to say to that. She didn't wait for an answer, just carried the cup away. The air between us wasn't awkward, just dense. Heavy with the kind of awareness that didn't need words. I found myself wanting to say something honest, something that would make her stay longer. But honesty felt too sharp, too early. Outside, the evening pressed against the window, gray-blue and wet from a half-hearted rain. The streetlights flickered in reflection across the glass, catching her outline as she leaned against the espresso machine. I should have left then, paid, thanked her, walked out. Instead, I heard my voice, quieter than I meant it to be. Clara? She looked up, the way her eyes lifted, tired, kind, curious. Felt like something opening and closing all at once. I hesitated. You forgot to give me my receipt. It was a stupid excuse. But she smiled anyway, slow and real this time, as if she understood exactly what I was doing. She tore the paper, handed it over, her fingers brushing mine again. Keep it, she said, in case you come back. And just as I was about to answer, the bell above the door chimed. Someone else walked in. She looked away first. The next time I saw her, she wasn't behind the counter. She was sitting by the window, coat still on, staring out like she'd forgotten what she came there for. I almost didn't recognize her, no apron, no name tag, just Clara. The woman, not the barista. She noticed me before I could look away. You again, she said, voice soft but guarded. You following me now? Maybe I just like the coffee, I said. Her mouth lifted, not quite a smile. You don't even finish it. I sat across from her before she could tell me not to. The rain had started again, the soft kind that smudges light on glass. Between us sat 2 cups, both untouched. For a while we didn't talk. She traced the rim of her mug with her thumb. A silver ring caught the light. Not a wedding band, but close enough to make me wonder. You're too young to be sitting with someone like me, she said suddenly. I don't feel young, I said. That's what young people say. Her tone was dry, but her eyes weren't. There was something behind them, distance maybe, or fatigue. She looked like someone who had once been careful and got tired of it. I wanted to ask her about it, about who had worn her down, or what she kept looking for in that rain-soaked window. But instead, I said, "You always work nights?" "Mostly. My son's grown now, so less to rush home for." She said it casually, but her hand trembled slightly when she lifted her cup, just enough for the coffee to ripple. I didn't say anything. I just nodded, feeling that small ache that comes when someone says something too personal and too light at the same time. She noticed me watching. "What?" "Nothing," I said. "You just seem somewhere else." She leaned forward slightly. "And where are you?" Her voice lowered when she asked it. The air between us tightened, that kind of closeness you don't mean to create but don't stop either. Her knee brushed mine under the table. Neither of us moved. She pulled back first. "You should be careful with looks like that," she said. "People will think you mean something." "Maybe I do." Her laugh was quiet, but it broke. "Don't," she said, shaking her head. "You don't know what kind of mess that would make." I should have stopped there. But when she reached for her bag, I caught her wrist. Not hard, just enough to make her look at me. For a second, everything slowed. The hum of the espresso machine, the drizzle against the window, even her breathing. "Clara," I said. Her name sounded different now. She didn't pull away, just looked down at where my hand touched hers, then back up. Her eyes softened, not with surrender, but something riskier. "I told you," she whispered, almost smiling. "You always forget your change." We didn't plan to see each other again, but plans had never really mattered between us. It was a Thursday, late afternoon, the kind of light that makes everything look softer than it should. I stopped by the café without thinking, the way you touch a bruise to check if it still hurts. Clara was there, bent over a stack of receipts, hair tied up this time. I told myself I'd just say hello, then go. But she looked up at exactly the wrong or right moment. "You again," she said, same words, different tone. "Habit," I said. She smiled, tired, real. "You shouldn't make me one." There were other people in the cafe. A group of students, a couple by the window. But when she came over to wipe the table next to mine, it felt like the whole place had quieted. Her arm brushed my shoulder. It wasn't an accident. Or if it was, neither of us corrected it. "You look distracted," she said. "You're the reason." She froze mid-motion, cloth still in hand, and for a second, I thought she might actually say something honest back. But her gaze shifted behind me. A man had walked in, mid-40s, clean-cut, the kind of presence that filled a space too easily. He gave her a look that wasn't casual. "Clara," he said. Her back straightened. "Hey, I didn't think you'd come by." I pretended to check my phone, heartbeat in my throat. The man, Mark, I caught from how she said it later, asked her something about dinner plans. Her laugh was tight, automatic. "I'm just finishing up here." He left after a minute. She didn't look at me until the door closed behind him. "That's your?" I started. "Ex-husband," she said flatly. Then softer. "Sometimes he forgets we're not still us." The silence that followed wasn't comfortable. It was charged, full of all the things neither of us should have been feeling. She turned back toward me, hands braced on the counter, exhaling slowly. "You shouldn't have seen that." "I didn't see anything," I lied. Her eyes met mine. "You see everything." She came closer, just a step, and the air shifted. I could smell the faint sweetness of her skin, the warmth that seemed to lean toward me before she did. "Clara." She stopped inches away. Her breath brushed my cheek. Not quite a kiss, but close enough to erase every reasonable thought. Someone coughed from the other side of the room, a customer waiting for service. We both stepped back like we'd been caught doing something forbidden. But when she handed me my drink, her fingers lingered again, a pulse under the surface. "You really shouldn't keep coming here," she murmured. "Then tell me to stop." She didn't. The bell above the door rang again as I left. But when I looked back, she was still watching me, hand pressed to her throat like she could feel the words she hadn't said. It happened on a night that wasn't supposed to mean anything. The cafe had closed early. Rain drummed steady against the windows, the kind of sound that made the world feel smaller, sealed in. I'd come by to return a book she'd lent me. A flimsy reason that didn't hold up even in my own head. She was wiping down the counter, sleeves rolled up, hair damp from the walk home she hadn't yet taken. The lights were half off, soft and golden. "You shouldn't be here this late," she said, without looking up. "You left your scarf in my bag," I said. "I didn't bring a scarf." "I know." That made her look. Slowly. There was something in her face. Irritation, maybe, but it cracked around the edges. "You're playing a dangerous game," she said quietly. "I'm not playing." She let the rag drop onto the counter. For a second, she looked like she might tell me to leave. But instead, she stepped around to my side. The space between us was too small. It made everything louder. The rain, the faint hum of the fridge, the uneven rhythm of breathing. "You don't understand what this is," she said. "Then tell me." Her voice caught. "It's a mistake." "Then why aren't you moving?" That shut both of us up. I reached up, hesitating, unsure, and brushed a strand of hair from her face. She didn't flinch. Her skin was warm under my fingers, the kind of warmth that made time slip. "Clara," I said, barely above a whisper. She closed her eyes when I said her name, like she hated the way it sounded from me, or maybe loved it too much. "You think this is simple?" she said. "I'm twice your age. People would. I don't care what people would." She opened her eyes. Something raw had surfaced there. Something she'd been holding back for too long. "Don't say that," she said, voice trembling now. "You'll make me believe you mean it." Her hand found mine, maybe to stop me, maybe to steady herself. Our fingers locked without instruction. "You keep looking at me like you see something worth wanting," she said. "I do." She laughed. But it broke halfway through, turned into something closer to a sigh. "You don't even know what wanting costs at my age." "Then let me find out." The words hung there, no room left for pretending. Her breath caught. She stepped closer, close enough that I could feel her against me. Not touching yet, but the heat of her body pulled everything else out of focus. Her hand slid up to my chest, stopping there like she was counting my heartbeat. "I shouldn't," she whispered. "Then don't." Neither of us moved. Her eyes dropped to my mouth. Slow, deliberate. The thunder outside cracked. Loud, sudden, and the lights flickered once. She drew in a breath, lips parting. Then a knock at the door shattered the moment. We froze. She turned toward the sound, chest rising, eyes wide. "Clara?" A voice called from outside. Her hand slipped from mine. The knock didn't stop. 3 short raps, a pause, then another. Clara's face went pale in the half-light. "Don't move," she whispered, already stepping back. I froze. The sound of the rain suddenly felt too loud, like it was exposing something. She walked to the door, shoulders tight, and cracked it open just enough to see out. "Mark," she said, voice low. "What are you doing here?" Her ex-husband. The name landed between us like a dropped glass. "I left my jacket here earlier," he said. "You didn't answer your phone." She looked back at me. Quick, sharp, a silent warning. I stepped farther into the shadows by the espresso machine, heart hammering against my ribs. He pushed the door wider, scanning the room. "You're still here? It's almost midnight." "Inventory," she said. "Too fast." He frowned. "You shouldn't be doing that alone." "I'm fine, Mark." She kept her voice steady, but her fingers twisted in her sleeve. The tension between them was the kind you could taste. Not anger, not quite care, but something unresolved and brittle. He lingered too long, gaze moving toward the back of the cafe. I held still, trying not to breathe. Finally, he sighed. "Lock up after, okay?" "I always do." When the door closed again, Clara leaned against it, eyes shut. For a moment, she didn't move. I stepped out. "He doesn't know?" She opened her eyes, staring straight at me. "There's nothing to know." "That's not true," I said quietly. She turned, brushing past me toward the counter. Her shoulder grazed my chest. just enough for her breath to catch. Don't start. You could have told me, I said. Told you what? That he still checks on me? That sometimes I let him because it's easier than being alone. Her voice cracked, the truth spilling out before she could stop it. I didn't answer. Couldn't. She gripped the counter like she needed something solid. You think I don't see how you look at me? You think I don't want? She stopped, swallowing the word. But you don't understand the mess I've already made of people who cared too much. I stepped closer. Maybe I don't care about the mess. You should, she said, her voice barely holding. Because I lied. The words hit harder than I expected. She turned toward me, eyes glossy but unflinching. That day, the first day when I said I just noticed you came by a lot. That wasn't true. I'd been watching you for weeks. Before you even spoke to me. Her hand trembled as she touched her temple, like she was trying to erase what she just said. I told myself it was harmless, she whispered. A young man, quiet, polite. I thought looking was enough. But it wasn't. I didn't move. Couldn't. The air between us was thick, electric, dangerous. So now what? I asked. She looked at me, really looked, as if the question hurt. Then she stepped closer, until our breath mingled again. Now, she said, voice barely audible. We stop pretending we don't already know how this ends. It was quiet after that, too quiet. The kind of silence that doesn't fade. It hums. Clara stood near the window, her reflection blurred by the rain outside. Her hand pressed against the glass, as if she was holding something back from spilling over. You shouldn't be here, she said again, softer this time. Then tell me to leave. She didn't. When she turned, her face looked different. Less guarded, more undone. The kind of look people have when they stop rehearsing what they're supposed to feel. I've spent years trying not to want things, she said. It makes life simpler. Does it? No, she smiled faintly. But it keeps you from getting hurt. I took a step toward her, then another. Each one felt like crossing some invisible line that couldn't be uncrossed. Then why do you look like you're hurting anyway? Her laugh was low, shaky. You really don't give up, do you? Not on you. Her breath caught at that. Barely, but I heard it. When I reached her, we stood close enough that I could feel the warmth of her body radiating through the thin space between us. My hand hovered at her waist, not touching, just there. Say it, I said quietly. Say what? That you don't feel it. She closed her eyes. The seconds stretched. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Instead, she stepped closer. So close that her head rested against my shoulder, her breath trembling against my collar. My arms went around her without thinking. She didn't resist. I shouldn't need this, she whispered. Then don't call it need. Her hands clutched the back of my shirt. For a moment, everything that had been building, the restraint, the hesitation, the guilt, cracked open. She lifted her face, inches from mine. I've wanted to forget what this feels like, she said. But you... I didn't let her finish. My forehead touched hers. Neither of us moved further. Just breathing the same air. Lost somewhere between holding on and falling apart. The rain outside hit harder, drumming against the glass. Somewhere a car passed. The world kept moving, but we didn't. You don't have to be afraid, I murmured. I'm not afraid of you, she said. I'm afraid of what I'll do if I stop pretending I am. She opened her eyes then, steady, unguarded. Everything in her face was an answer. Her hand came up, brushing my jaw, slow, deliberate. The kind of touch that says I know this will change everything. And it did. When she leaned in, our lips barely met. A breath, a promise, a surrender disguised as hesitation. But she was the one who pulled back first, fingers still resting against my cheek. Now you know, she said, voice low, final. I do. Neither of us spoke again. We didn't need to. The silence had said enough. Morning light always tells the truth. By the time the rain stopped, the world outside had turned silver. Streets washed clean, air cold enough to sting. Clara sat beside me on the counter, legs tucked under her, both hands wrapped around a mug that had long gone cold. We hadn't said much since that moment. Words would have only broken it. "You're quiet," she said finally. "So are you." She smiled faintly. "You make it hard to find the right things to say. Then maybe there aren't any." Her eyes softened, drifting toward the window. The city was waking up, headlights sliding through puddles, the faint hum of morning. She looked smaller in that light, almost fragile. But the calm in her face wasn't regret. It was release. "I spent so long thinking about how things would look," she said. "What people would say. And then you came in here, all awkward and kind, and I forgot how to hide." I turned toward her, brushing my thumb along her wrist. "You don't have to hide with me." She let out a shaky laugh. "You make it sound so easy." "Maybe it is. For now." That made her look up. Our eyes met. Steady this time, not a tug of war. The distance that had kept us circling each other was gone. What was left felt simple, like truth usually is after you stop fighting it. She leaned into me then, slowly, resting her head on my shoulder. Her hair smelled faintly of rain and coffee. My arm found its way around her waist. She fit there like she'd been holding herself apart for too long. For a while, we just sat, the clock ticking softly behind us, the world moving on without permission. "I thought I'd ruined this," she said quietly, "before it even began." "You didn't," I said. "You just made it real." She looked up, eyes glinting with something warmer now. "You'll probably wake up one day and realize I'm older, more complicated than you thought." "I already know," I said. "And I still came back." That earned a small smile, the kind that reached the corner of her eyes, tired but alive. Her fingers found mine, weaving together with an ease that felt like a decision. She didn't let go. Neither did I. Outside, the first bus rumbled past, headlights slicing through the fog. Inside, the cafe lights flickered once, then steadied, like everything else. Clara turned her face toward me, close enough that I could feel her breath when she spoke. "So what now?" she asked. "Now," I said, pressing a quiet kiss to her forehead. "We stop pretending we don't deserve this." She exhaled, slow and certain, then rested her hand over mine. For once, there was no rush, just the steady rhythm of two people who'd finally stopped running from what was already theirs. "Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?"